Yes.
We're recording.
Perfect. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. We wanted to kind of schedule some time to chat with you. We've had a lot of people reach out to us, both about the local sponsorship benefits that you guys are going to be able to offer in the virtual world, and what that might look like, but also about what those national sponsorship benefits might look like for you. So we wanted to just schedule some time, not only for us to give you a little bit of an update on some of those national benefits and some opportunities for local benefits, but at the same time, just kind of pull you guys together to do a little bit of brainstorming about what things might be able to look like locally, and if you had some ideas to share with the rest of the group, because we know that that's a big area of kind of nervousness or apprehension, is really how to make that sponsorship world work in a virtual world. So thank you guys again for joining us. I want to talk to you a little bit about the event platform that our team has been working hard to find for us, something that would really work for all of our chapters. This platform that we're looking is a program called Swigo. It's an event marketing platform that will integrate with your Zoom platform for your walk day, but also for Unite Day if you are looking to do something on Unite Day, if your walk was before walk, or if your walk is before Unite Day, or if it wasn't until after the 10/10 date. So this platform, I guess the way to kind of think about it and look at it is perhaps it's kind of like a conferencing platform, and the opportunities that it will give, especially in the sponsorship area. But it also is a platform where your group can gather. Like we said, it integrates with your Zoom. We don't have a lot to show you about that platform right now because we just signed a contract and we're just working with kind of getting that set up. But we wanted to at least let you guys know that that was coming. So in the past, or, the lots of questions have come up, or, how do we do a walk day virtually? How do we communicate with our participants that day? This is going to give you that opportunity versus using something like Facebook Live or something, like that. But the great thing about this platform, it also includes an option for virtual booth space for our local and national sponsors. And the reason why we know this is so important is because the booth space is really one of the main things that our chapters were able to sell for their local walks and to get local sponsorships. So what I'm going to show you on the next slide is kind of a snapshot. It's definitely, all it is a snapshot. It is very much in draft form of kind of what these booths would look like. But we wanted to share with you kind of, what sold us on it. Again, the customization part of it is coming over the next couple of weeks. We're working on that. But we wanted to just give you kind of a absolute draft look of what, in our world or in our minds, a booth could look like for the national sponsors, but also for the local sponsors. So this is kind of a screenshot look, and this is nothing, we threw the Takeda logo on it, but this really has nothing to do with Takeda at all. But this is an opportunity, as you can see, not only for a benefit, a logo from the partner or the sponsor. There's a copy block that allows about 180 words to be written, whether that be, about some of their product, about their company, that kind of thing. Depending on the level of the sponsor, national sponsor down to local, there will be ability to add up to 4 videos. So those could be short videos, something that they record talking about their company. It could be a product video that they're sharing, something like that. There is an option in some of our national sponsors to meet now or meet later. So, and a chat feature is a chat now feature. Contact information, info, you'll see down in the bottom. There's some quick links. Those would be, links to their website or to product websites or that kind of thing. And then it also allows for some download. So they could download their business reply card. They could download a brochure about their product. you know, as well as some contact information for a local rep or that kind of thing. So again, this is very much, and I can't emphasize it enough, it's very much a sample of what, you know, we're leaning towards and how we're trying to make this work, not only for our national sponsors, but our local sponsors. But we wanted to be able to show you at least a little bit of something to give you the general idea as opposed to talking all in hypotheticals. So again, these are all in the approval phases, but what we're looking at in taking advantage of this is Takeda benefits. And again, these would all be set up for you guys. This is something we would work with Takeda and the national sponsors to build out, create, etc. And then when it came time for adding your local sponsor information, you know, NHF would work closely with you to at least kind of train you on how to get that information up, but you would be able to create these same opportunity pages for some of your local sponsors. So Takeda, we're of them getting 4 video links that copy block, quick links, downloads, the chat now feature, and then contact links. And again, these will all be built for you. It's not anything you guys need to do except for, you know, make sure that you're letting your participants know that we'd like for them to visit the booths just like they would in person. And so you can see that kind of scales down to our national official sponsors with video links, you know, a smaller number of video links, a small another number of downloads. But here's what we're excited to share for you is there's an opportunity for you to sell these locally. And, you know, we can work with your chapter specifically if you work with your chapter services representative to kind of brainstorm the financial level that this would really market in your territory. Obviously, in some markets, it would be more to chat directly with a consumer than it would be to in other markets. So the look of this would be that the local sponsors would be able to add 1 video, the full 180 copy block, at least 1 quick link and 1 download, and then the chat feature and a contact link. So again, these are opportunities that, you know, we are excited to be able to offer to our chapters that are going virtual with their walks in order to you know, make it easier for you to sell that sponsorship, especially when it comes to the booth space being so incredibly valuable. So again, I'm sharing that one more time, just so you can kind of, you know, the things that we just talked about with the different benefits, you can kind of see how that might look a little bit different from a Takeda level sponsorship to a an official level sponsorship, but then to a local sponsorship that you're able to sell yourself. So again, we're really excited to be able to offer this because we think it's a benefit that, you know, is hard to mimic in the virtual world from being able to get direct booth space at your walk and interact directly. The other great thing about this is we are not looking at these being only able to be shared or used or, you know, that kind of thing on your actual walk day. This is something that would have shelf life. So if your walk is a couple weeks before Unite Day, you know, we could help you get this set up a couple, you know, weeks before so that you could kind of take advantage of the time sharing some of this information about sponsors, about your local sponsors, even about the national sponsors, and driving people directly to this page for the weeks before, but then including, you know, the weeks after. So, you know, all of this will be up and available for consumption from our community members for much more than just one day that they would you know, in an in-person walk. So we see it as a great benefit because we can be actually driving people who may not even walk with us on walk day, you know, maybe attend a different event of ours or something like that to be able to consume this information. So, you know, it's a nice benefit to be able to share, especially with those local sponsors. The other thing that, and we're gonna brainstorm a little bit about this in some of our breakouts, but is, you know, we heard a lot of chapters, you know, when we asked for the the creativity contest ideas and, you know, that kind of thing. A lot of chapters that we're looking at sending out some kind of virtual team captain box to their team captains. Something that would include t-shirts, pinwheels, you know, different type. One of the things we want to do is brainstorm with you guys on the kind of great things that would go in there, but, you know, perhaps a copy of the pinwheel ceremony, perhaps some fun stuff like some bubbles, or the opportunity to throw something, you know, neat in for a VIP team, like a gift card to go get coffee and donuts for their family that's walking in their neighborhood, door hangers. So perhaps you could share some information with your neighbors about, you know, statistics on bleeding disorders, and maybe a drive to donate to your website, you know, to your participants' websites, that kind of thing. So one of the things that NHF is looking at is providing these boxes to the chapters directly. We talked to some chapters to get some feedback on, you know, would they rather that be something that's sent out directly from NHF, you know, to your team captains, or is it something that you'd really like to own locally so that you could use that as an opportunity to sell local sponsorship for things to go in the box, whether that's brochures or, you know, that kind of thing. As you see on this picture, and this is just a sample, it's not necessarily going to look exactly like this, but we left a whole panel open. There's an opportunity for you guys to sticker this box with your local sponsors, information on it as well. And what we're looking at is not only sending the boxes to the chapters, but NHF also covering the cost of shipping out to the team captain. So where the chapter has to assume the responsibility is really getting those boxes stuffed and sent out, but the cost for the most part would be assumed by NHF, depending on anything specific locally that you guys wanted to add in there. Yes, is there a little bit of time that has to go into that? Yeah, but I think we all can agree that sending something out to our team captains to raise, you know, a vast majority of our money, you know, is a great kind of benefit to them, and sort of showing our appreciation for them. But again, at the other hand, it can be used as a great sponsorship opportunity for you locally to be able to send those out. And you know, we know when you lose the booth space locally, and the repayment for that, or the subsidizing for that, we wanted to put that money into something that would be really beneficial to not only our national sponsors, because that's really what the booth space that NHF you know, subsidizes is all about, but also the opportunity to be able to localize that, use that as a local sponsor benefit, and add things in locally that you guys would like to do to make it more of a local flair, which is something we know you guys are really vested in, making sure that your virtual walks stay feeling very much virtual or local, even though they might be on Unite Day with everyone else. So now I'm going to pass it over to Katie, who's going to talk to you guys a little bit about breaking into some groups to do some brainstorming.
All right, thank you, Tracy, and hey, everybody. So we heard you guys loud and clear, and it seemed like we were really looking for more information on sort of what some of those national partner benefits would look like at the local level. One, because they may influence some of the partnership benefits that you guys are providing at the local level, and just trying to figure out ways that we can look at our local packages and say what still works in a virtual world, what absolutely doesn't work, and what can we tweak or add to make sure that this is mutually beneficial for our partners. So we thought it would be really helpful to spend about 20 minutes in breakout groups, and we do have 4 facilitators that are chapter leaders to help us out with that, to spend some time talking about some of these questions that you guys are all seeing on the screen, and just doing a brainstorm of things that you might offer your community members, talking through some of the potential challenges of that fulfillment piece, and spending those 20 minutes kind of taking notes and gathering some information that we can then come back together as a larger group and share. The idea too is, obviously this is recorded, but we're also going to compile all of the notes from all of the groups so that you guys can benefit from all of the chapter leaders across the network as well. So in the next couple minutes, what to expect is Elizabeth is a assigning all of you guys to breakout rooms. And let's see where we are on the clock. Let's plan on coming out of the sponsor rooms at 2:15, which will give us a couple of minutes to recap. And I also know that Michael has an announcement or something to share update-wise at the end as well. So we're really excited to hear from you guys about, the great things that are happening in your communities or what your plans are, but learning from each other so that we can continue to build out those sponsorship packages. So,
Hey, Katie, did you quick want to share that photo of the business card?
Yeah, absolutely.
This is like an idea of, there you go. You should be able to see it, hopefully.
Yep, we do see it. Perfect. And this actually came out of, we were doing some brainstorming with the Michigan chapter, and one of the benefits that we had talked through was allowing a local partner to create a business card background that they would then use on a Zoom call, either with a team captain kickoff night, or even if it's on your actual virtual walk day, that would allow their community members to learn how they can connect and learn more. So the Michigan chapter was hoping that they could see an example of that. So we did want to pull that up just to kind of, as we're jumping into our breakout rooms, to get the creative juices flowing in terms of ways we can kind of really utilize this virtual world to still maintain our partnerships. So thank you, Tracy, for the reminder.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there, is it back to being able to see?
Yep, it's perfect.
Okay.
And so let's plan on reconvening at 2:15, but we'll get you guys into your breakout rooms and then we'll chat more in a few. Hi, everyone. We hope you enjoyed your time away. Awesome. So we are so excited for all of you guys to share the great stuff that was happening in all of your breakout rooms. And it looks like we're back up to about 40 participants. So I think most folks are here. We did want to just touch base on some of the comments and questions that were in the chat feature before we break out into small groups or start sharing what our small groups discussed. And that was the question on some of the timing with SWOGO. And that's just, we really can't put our finger exactly on what that's going to look like quite yet. We're really kind of building it in flight and learning as we go, as we get to know the technology and some of the functionality. We are super hopeful that for most of our walks, you will be able to offer local sponsorship benefits through SWOGO, but that's part of why we wanted to talk through some of the non-SWOGO benefits today, just to start being able to solidify some of those commitments as well. So for those walks that are in late August and early September, those are the ones that we're definitely most concerned about being able to offer those internal SWOGO benefits to those walk sites. But we promised you that we are working super hard to make it available for all walk sites, irrespective of your walk date. So we just wanted to put that out there before we did some group share. But now I'm going to throw it to our I can't speak today, facilitators to start sharing some of the great stuff that came out of your individual groups. And then we're just going to take like the last 2 to 3 minutes to do some housekeeping and updates on our end. So anybody super excited to kick things off? And a special thank you to Rich and Megan and Michael and everybody that helped, and Danielle for facilitating today.
I can go first if that's okay.
Perfect. Thanks, Danielle.
Okay. We did not, we had a great discussion, but we did not get through all the questions. We got through about question 5. But some of the things that we talked about, so we talked about which traditional local Unite partner benefits are still relevant. And we talked about pretty much anything that was print or web or on your website, so something on your website, something you printed, something you emailed that had logo placement is still relevant, but we talked about how we're enhancing those. And we're maybe adding more frequency. So we might, instead of just doing a walk newspaper or newsletter, we might do a pre-newsletter and a day of newsletter and a post newsletter. Or we might do a special edition of our e-newsletter and make it just walk related and have special recognition for those sponsors. We also talked about speaking opportunities, and we'll talk about that later in terms of what we really felt the reps and the companies wanted to have as very valuable as giving them the opportunity to speak to patients. On question 2, which was new opportunities we can offer in a virtual world, we talked about a thank you follow-up email that thanks sponsors. So whenever you're doing something, not just thanking them that day, but sending a thank you, they might say, BDAI and Pfizer, thank you for attending the program. And if you want to learn more about something, having a link to Pfizer, to like Pfizer's Hemophilia Village page, We did talk about being careful where you link to, because you don't want to get into an unrelated business expense issue. And you're really not supposed to link to a product page. You're only supposed to link to like a landing page. So the example of don't link to Pfizer's product, link to Hemophilia Village, because otherwise that can cause you problems. But we also talked about having pre-events. So like in our chapter, we're doing Total Wellness Tuesday. So every Tuesday leading up to the walk, we're doing stretching and meditation and yoga and looking for sponsors for those, or looking for other events that are coming up. Another thing was, if you're doing contests or incentives for your walk, maybe tying that and saying, the person that had the most people registered this week, Takeda, offer or thanks you for doing that, or something like that. Also having scavenger hunts and really engaging patients and doing a scavenger hunt where maybe they have to go click on something and see what a sponsor said, or see them speak was another idea. And again, the giveaways, having, kind of, again, one of those we can still do and we can still do now is maybe, again, mailing things for them before and after the event, but that's also one of our challenges later. But another idea was if they, if a sponsor is doing an education event for you, and it's not necessarily walk related, but then bringing in a little commercial for the walk, and then thanking that sponsor for also sponsoring the walk, and kind of cross promoting was an idea. When it came to, again, number 4, what have been most appealing? We talked about FaceTime. Again, FaceTime, anytime they can do anything branded, they of course want to do that. FaceTime, speaking, having the opportunity to introduce themselves, that they really just want to speak. The things that they are that they maybe not they're like get in front of consumers, and that could be live or that could be pre-recorded. We've heard from some companies, someone mentioned that CSL doesn't necessarily want their people working on weekends as much, so they have pre-recorded messages that they like to show, and maybe focusing on three deliverables and doing it really well versus offering them 15 things that maybe go across the board and are not as easy to fulfill. So that was an idea, and really trying to be flexible. And I shared the frustration that I feel like I'm being asked as a chapter to be very flexible, but the companies are not flexible at all. So that's super frustrating. Their timelines have not changed. Their rules have not changed, in terms of what they're allowed to do. That's super frustrating, but they want us to be flexible and kind of work with them. But also then knowing, kind of being flexible too, and knowing what words to use and what not to. As an example, Genentech doesn't want to do any exhibit because they know it's not an exhibit. They know it's not a booth. They don't want to do, and I was told directly, don't call it a booth. So maybe call it a resource center, and don't call it a box. As another example, Genentech doesn't want to put anything in a box. Call it a informational packet, and trying to find their buzzwords that they can't use and they don't want to use, right? So that's an example. Again, watch the links, looking at having maybe, again, the idea of a slide of a business card. And then what our challenge is, and I'm sure that I have, there's a lot of other things we could cover too, but our challenges were a couple things. And that mailing is really time consuming, and Bob shared in the chat, I know I've heard Bridget say this too, that when you mail those boxes, you go to the post office and they have to weigh and individually key in each one of those, and they'll only help you with so many if there's a customer. So just kind of planning for that, or planning a way to do that, or using a mailing house or something else, because it's really, so you have to keep that in mind when you offer your sponsorship benefits, that you include your time in terms of what you're offering.
And Danielle, is just make sure with whatever you're doing, you look at your cost analysis and make sure when you're offering those sponsorships is that you build in your costs so that you're not losing money, so that you really are offering a sponsorship that returns on your investment.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thanks, Bob. And then the last two were just that specialty pharmacies, we've seen that specialty pharmacies just aren't interested in doing virtual stuff. They're just not into it, and they're not participating. And then the last thing was that we found that some of them want us to be their distribution house. They want to mail us a bunch of stuff to mail to people. So again, looking at that in your time consuming, are you willing to do that? And is that worth your, your cost benefit analysis? So that's some of the stuff. Is that my group? Feel free to, if I missed anything, but that is kind of the stuff we talked about.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Danielle.
I can go next. Our group had a lot of the similar items that Danielle's group did. Some things I'll highlight that are a little bit different, because we actually, I try to keep them on task, get through all the questions. One of the things for the avoid benefits to avoid, one of them was the video or ad, making it actually recorded, because some of the sponsors have a longer lead time to get some of that stuff approved. So making sure you're doing recorded or live in some of your verbiage. Some don't have swag items, so they don't like you using that word in it because then they feel like they can't participate. Looking at the fair market value, we think it is about the same. Sometimes we feel like we may add a few more things into a virtual experience to make it worth their while, but I think most of the sponsors are just happy to participate and get as much out of it as they can, and what we've put together from our perspective that they've actually appreciated. And then we do think there is a farther reach for these virtual events. We've been able to boast that we're getting people from all corners of our state or surrounding states. So I think there is some benefit, especially on those weekday events. But I think the walk will pertain to that as well. Getting people that are 2-3 hours away to travel down for an event is a little bit hard, but in virtual life, it's fairly easy. I'll kind of stop there unless my group has something else to add.
Thank you, Michael. All right, Megan, Rich, who'd like to go next?
I'm happy to go. So a lot of the things that we had were also kind of mentioned. A couple of the other things that we talked about is some chapters do newspapers where you can sell ads, and instead of mailing it out, doing it as a PDF, because there's still many chapters are seeing an increase in advertisement inside of some newsletters. So thinking about selling these ads, or if you don't have the ad for something like this, but creating a newspaper to highlight team captains. We also talked about that, some of these new opportunities could be the Zoom industry breakout. Some of the chapters have had really good success with industry feedback of that's what they want. They want to be in front of patients. So having a breakout session where you do kind of a round robin, 20 minutes each, in some sort of interaction where you can pick the breakouts and kind of have, to learn from the sponsors, since that's what they're looking for. I know there's been a lot of talk of scavenger hunts. Several of us have seen huge successes where you win prizes instead of just getting these things. So there could be something additionally, if you complete the scavenger hunt, that you could be entered into a raffle for something as all. The adjusted benefits, we had the pre-recorded speaking part of it, kind of that personal connection, the boxes, but we also talked about that some of the challenges is not just the cost, but where do you put all this stuff? Many of us are working from home and our offices are not that big. And when you have 20 companies sending you 200 items, you don't have the manpower to package this all as well. If you have help, are you following proper social distancing guidance? We're also seeing too some of the problems that people are signing up for things, but it seems to be about 20 to 30% are not coming. So if you have 100 people registered, about 80 or 70 will actually show. So that seems to be a struggle, as well. We did think, like Michael, that a virtual booth space could be equivalent to fair market value, but you just need to be specific on that and having those conversations. Some of the other things that we talked about, high touch is really working, picking up the phone call and talking it through and saying that you may not be able to come to live events, but this is what we need for you as a chapter, whether it's educational programming or the walk. But many of us, if not all of us, are really hoping that the weekly videos, communication, email, social media, that we can get up to the same amount of people, if not more, in a virtual format, because that means if they couldn't come to the walk, they can actually do this wherever they are.
Absolutely. That's a great point. Fantastic. Megan, you want to close us out?
Yeah, I like going last because everybody's gotten all the good ideas out. Yeah, I mean, there's a few that we talked about. We didn't get through all the questions either. New opportunities, a couple that stood out. Doing like a Google Meetup or a Zoom meeting to show team captains SWOGO, and maybe a sponsor could speak. So that might be a benefit we could offer to one of our top sponsors. Ziggy has also offered an educational dinner, a virtual education dinner for his top sponsors. So that's something that could be considered. for our local sponsors. As far as the challenges, Kaylee from Nevada was talking about how she did a mailing and did flat rate boxes. So although they wouldn't be really cute boxes provided by NHF, that might be a way to help save on time. And maybe there could be like a branded Unite item in the box that's provided by NHF rather than the boxes. So something to think about, reimbursing for those. And Ursula brought up shipping t-shirts and when those would be mailed, trying to figure that out along with mailing the team captain boxes. And we had a whole conversation about t-shirt logistics. And then we also saw a challenge between how to explain the difference between SWUGO and the Unite Walk site, since we are featuring sponsor logos and stuff on our current Unite site, and we need to drive traffic there because that's where people fundraise. But we also want to drive traffic to SWUGO to benefit our sponsors. So how do we promote that effectively and not confuse people, I think was something we wanted to work through. And then in terms of what do you think the virtual equivalent to booth space looks like in relation to fair market value, we talked a little bit at the end about whether that would just be for top level or also our mid-level sponsors. And someone brought up, depends really on how much work it takes to set up that site, because again, our time, is money and time is valuable. So those are some of the things we talked about.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Megan. And just to touch on sort of promoting the SWUGO site versus the Unite site, a lot of the communication plans and strategy that we're going to be creating and hooking all you guys up with is really to drive people to Unite for Bleeding Disorders. Ultimately, that's where they're going to engage to recruit and donate and to solicit other people to fund their team's fundraising goals and all that good stuff. So that's definitely going to remain front and center. We are looking at places where we might be able to, like, as they move through the registration process or through triggered notifications, say, oh my gosh, wonderful, this is your house for all of your fundraising efforts. This additional place where you register is a place where we're going to be celebrating the Unites across the country. So we are going to be working on some language just to help clarify all of those things moving forward and working with all of you guys to make that hopefully as seamless as possible. We did ask the question when we were working with SWUGO to see if we could make that like sort of a one-time thing where they wouldn't have to re-register, but unfortunately that's something they weren't able to work around, but definitely something we'll work through with you guys. Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much. And I look forward to you sharing those notes with me, and I'll put those together and put them in the recap. We really appreciate all of your time and discussion on this. I know Tracy's going to be pulling up a couple of Menti questions for you guys to answer. That's just going to kind of help guide us as we finalize things for the team captain boxes. So Tracy, if you want to pull that up while Michael kind of wraps us out with a couple of housekeeping items, and then we will hopefully get this recording out to you guys either later this week or early next week. So thank you.
So if I have a couple housekeeping items, then maybe you'll need to give me an idea of what anything else might be. The only item I wanted to share with you guys, and this is somewhat hot off the presses, those of you that have already applied for your COVID bridge grant are aware of this because you've received some notifications, but the Hemophilia Alliance, specifically Joe Puglisi, has agreed to match our $500,000 for the COVID bridge grant program to be able to give all of you guys a matching unrestricted contribution of $7,500 after we approve your grant. And so just wanted to make you guys aware that there's an additional $7,500 that will be available to you through, kind of as an extension of this program, if you will. Joe did not want to create a separate process for this, but he wanted to know that we already had collected this information, and if all he could have is your permission for me to share your W-9 and your 501c3 letter and verify your mailing address for where the check needs to be mailed. So that's all I'll be asking for you upon approval of your grant. So really your $7,500 grant turns into a $15,000 grant. So, that's all for you guys. Congratulations. If you talk to Joe Puglisi, give him a, big virtual hug or something because he's really between this and what he did already for the money given to the Alliance Foundation for Patient Assistance, that's $1 million that the Hemophilia Alliance has committed to strengthening local chapters. So definitely give him a shout out. NHF is going to be doing some larger, notification and thank you and kind of press release of this, to let the general community know of the Alliance's commitment. But wanted to share that with you guys, that good news. So maybe it takes a little pressure off all this fundraising talk we're entering into right now, knowing that you've got some additional funds coming. So more information about that as we go, and don't hesitate to reach out to me if there's any specific questions that you have about that. So definitely, I approved 28 of them the other day, so I know the deadline's not until August, but the sooner you get that to me, the better, so that we know if there's resources that are available beyond that. So thanks again, everyone.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody. If there's any questions that we didn't get to in the chat, just in lieu of time, we'll definitely include those in the follow-up. We just want to thank everyone for your time today, and thank you for taking a couple minutes just to take that Menti poll so that we can have a little direction as we continue to plug away. So great to see a lot of your faces, and hope you have a great rest of your week. Bye, guys.